You are now listening to the fastest show on iSports Radio. My name is Daryl Kinsey Jr. Welcoming you to another lap of the Extra Mile for today, March 23rd, 2023. Well, the action on the track is heating up just like the temperatures in the air, although we never really did have a winter down here in the mid-Atlantic. But we had some great action last week. Super Sebring may have been run for the final time, but it was still fun. We had an interesting Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. We'll get into that. And, of course, NASCAR went to Atlanta, and the NASCAR fan base, yet again, cannot figure out what they want out of a race. We'll talk about all of that and more with my co-hosts, Christopher Lehman and Michael Ward.
Well, Michael, welcome back.
Hello, how have you been?
I've been great. How have you been?
I've been okay. I got a new job coming in this Sunday.
Sweet.
I'm going to be doing some software troubleshooting for this company for a while. And I've been trying to get back into shape, so I've been hitting the gym a lot.
It's good to hear, man.
Thank you. I've been trying to just get things back into gear and try to enjoy life.
Hey, we all need that reset. So understand,
yeah.
but it's really good to have you back.
I've been also playing a lot of Assetto Corsa in the meantime.
Nice. And you were, for a time, leading the Extra Mile point standings. Mostly due to
2
health,
weeks.
But
Yeah, for 2 weeks. I led
The 2 weeks
mile
that
again.
the 2 weeks that Daryl and I picked for you, we might add.
Yeah.
and then
Keep
you
in
started
mind,
picking.
I have no idea what I'm doing when I make picks. I just say, hey, this guy looks good here. Let's try it, and then it doesn't work out.
By the way, he started picking for himself, and now he's last. So maybe we should have kept picking for him.
Yeah. No, it's good we let him take over.
Yeah. So let's get into it. We had a lot of fun this weekend as far as races this past week. We'll start, since Michael's back, we can start with a little bit of the sports cars and quickly get through that. We had Super Sebring with the Sebring 12 hours and the 1,000 miles of Sebring for the WEC on Friday, the Mobile One Sebring 12 on Saturday. Two really good races. We'll stick with the hypercar classes because if we want to talk about all of them, we're going to need another episode. And if you're just joining us live, we started 30 minutes late. Had to get some things together, but now we're all here. We'll start with WEC hypercar really quick. Toyota, Ferrari, Peugeot, Cadillac, Porsche, and the Glickenhaus all got together for the first time at Sebring, and it was a really entertaining race. Ferrari had the pole. They led for the first few minutes, and then a GT Ferrari absolutely bit the dust on lap 5, which we weren't expecting. Stops, I wasn't, but the pit stops came. Toyota didn't pit. Ferrari did. And Toyota got a lead that it did not relinquish. And, Michael, to me, it felt a little bit Ferrari F1 with that strategy call.
It did, but in my opinion, I felt like Toyota would have gotten the lead anyway because Toyota, they've had time to, mess with this hypercar for they have a year advantage, whereas this was everybody's first race. They're trying to figure everything out. But Ferrari, yeah, I have to agree with you. Maybe they shouldn't have taken that pit stop. I feel like it would have been better to lose the lead on track rather than off track. But for what they did, Ferrari, not too shabby out there in Sebring. Not too bad. They didn't do too bad. They had an unfortunate crash later on in the race, but other than that, not bad. Not bad at all.
Yeah, definitely. Ferrari is the strongest of the new hypercars that are not named Toyota, but experience won out on Friday. Toyota's been doing this for 3 years. That car is finely tuned by this point, and it's really been the same one since they've started. It's only been, slight modifications they've made to it, and that car is raring and ready to go. And for everybody else in Hypercar, they just got to go out there and try to chase them down. Chris, I don't know if you got to see any of the Friday race since it was during working hours, but did you get a chance to see any of the oh no, it wasn't on TV, so you wouldn't have.
I wouldn't have had time anyway. I was freaking busy. However, I did see some pictures, some video, like kind of like Twitter and stuff like that. Saw some videos and saw that Ferrari managed a Ferrari. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they still got to work on the decision making, but they, of course, they've been doing really well in the WEC program for a little while, and I think right now they have to just adapt from their GT3 mindset or GT mindset to maybe their hypercar mindset. But I think they've done really well. So did anybody Cadillac was in the race, right?
Yeah, the Cadillac was okay. Cadillac had a much better Saturday than they did on Friday, and we'll get to Saturday in a minute.
I'm not talking about how they did. I'm talking about the sound it made.
Best sound in the WEC grid of the Cadillac.
That
Cadillac
car
V8.
sounds amazing.
Yes.
I was like, I haven't heard a race car get that loud in so long.
It was a fan favorite from what I remember. On the other side of things,
sounding car, but it didn't perform as best I thought it would.
Yeah, it's got some work to do in WEC trim. On the other side, though, Peugeot and Glickenhaus, those cars are not ready for prime time, and Glickenhaus, it's disappointing because that car, of the new teams, it's been around the longest, or the newer teams. It was one of the teams that started originally. They didn't do the entire season last year. They came here this year, and the car didn't work. And Peugeot, between the electrics and the transmission, that car is not reliable. Michael? Oh, we may have lost him. While we wait for Michael to come back, Chris, I don't know if you saw any...
Sorry about that, my headphones
died.
died.
You're okay.
Yeah, my headphones died, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just saying Glickenhaus and Peugeot were pretty unreliable on Friday.
Yeah, they were not the best performing cars. And, Peugeot, with its design, I thought that they had something good going. I thought usually I would think, doing something different, would work. But Formula One would tell you, yeah, don't do anything different.
Yeah.
Whatever the top guy's doing, you do exactly what he does. So, yeah, they didn't perform the best. I still think the car looks weird without a rear wing. Like, I'm looking at a picture of it right now, and I still say that's the weirdest looking hypercar I have ever seen.
Yep. And going forward... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
And Glickenhaus, they're Glickenhaus. They show up and try their best, and that's the only thing I can ask for, really.
Yeah.
Anything about Porsche?
Porsche just needs to get their rear grip in order, and that car is going to be fine. It had pretty good pace. I think it led a couple of times during pit stops, but if they can get the rear grip sorted, that car is going to be fine.
And don't they have the Yost partnership also?
No, that went to Glickenhaus, unfortunately.
Oh, well, hopefully Glickenhaus can get them sorted,
We'll see. We'll see.
If Yost can fix the Mazda team, I'm pretty sure they can fix Glickenhaus.
Yes. So let's go forward to Saturday and the ending of the Sebring 12. Oh boy, Chris, did you
I'm
get a chance to see the highlights of this race, specifically the ending?
I don't believe so.
I'm
Okay,
sorry. The only reason I'm laughing is because I understood what he was trying to do, but I don't think he should have did it.
Felipe Albuquerque on the last lap, racing the Porsche. I think it was the number 6 that was in front.
Hmm.
He went for a whole. The two
Oh wait, was it
GTs.
the 10? Oh, 10,
No, the 10
Albuquerque
was
was the 10.
Albuquerque was the 10.
Okay, okay.
So it's Acura versus Porsche at the end. And there's the Ferrari and the Corvette and GTM in front. They're basically blocking the track just after turn 1 because they're racing for their own positions. So there's really nowhere to go. Albuquerque dives to the inside to try. I don't know what he was trying. There was no hole there to try and
If
make
there's
the
not,
pass.
if there's a gap, you're no longer a racing driver.
Well, he took that to heart and took out the 6. The 6 goes spinning. The 6 goes forward. The 10 hits the wall, comes across the track in turn 3, annihilates the 6 car. The number 7 Porsche then comes around, goes over top of her sister car. 1, 2, 3 in the race get taken out on the last lap, and the Wheeling Cadillac that was leading for a good portion of the day but ended up 4th there on the final hour comes back, rallies, and wins the first race for Cadillac in the Sebring 12. That has got to be one of the most dramatic finishes we have had in the IMSA WeatherTech sports car era. Because that was an incredible finish.
It was incredible. Definitely one of the most memorable finishes I've witnessed to Sebring.
Mm-hmm.
What can I say about it, really? It's just the whole race was good, but those last couple of minutes was absolutely insane.
Yeah, it also didn't help though. Felipe Albuquerque was driving like, I'm just gonna be honest, he was driving like a moron that last hour. He ran the Portugal about 2 or 3 times before that, and I think IMSA needs to have a conversation with them before the next race and say, hey, don't drive like that.
Also, since 2021, it's been an abundance of Japanese manufacturers getting hit by German manufacturers.
There's a World War II joke in there, but I'm not gonna make it. But it was a lot of fun.
You were the one that pointed it out. I ain't saying that.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, but on the other side for IMSA, P3 gotta go. They cause a lot more issues than they solve.
They do, and I think they're just there, honestly.
Yeah. Oh, they're definitely there.
They're there. They just need to go.
Yep.
Great to have you, but peace, Scoot.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. We will see them again in Long Beach when we go around for the Long Beach Grand Prix. I do not believe LMP. I don't think LMP3 will be there, and the crowd says amen. But it will be GT and the 2 GT classes and GTP going at it. They're in Long Beach, and it's going to have like an 80s throwback to have GTP out there again. But
wait, Daryl.
Yes.
We're forgetting something.
What are we forgetting?
You didn't talk about your Corvette. I don't like.
Hey, they did win. They won on Friday.
Yeah.
They should have won.
I'm surprised you.
Well, we kind of started.
Anything.
Yeah, well, we started late, so I was trying to just keep it short. But yeah, Corvette dominated. Well, they were going back and forth with the Iron Dames on Friday, and unfortunately, the Iron Dames car went off the track, ripped the back end off of it, because the Iron Dames cannot have any racing luck when they are leading in the World Endurance Championship. They end up finishing down the order. Corvette ends up winning that race on Friday. They were dominating on Saturday, but a broken shock took them out of it. It's been a good ride for the C8 GTE car in its last time running before they go to the GT3 next year. So I'm a proud Corvette fan going into this season.
Awesome.
Yep.
I definitely wanted to hear about what you had to say about Corvette because you're not talking about it. It was scaring me.
No, they had a great weekend. WEC is going to Portimao.
Ooh, that's going to be fun.
That's going to be a really fun race. While as I said, IMSA is going to Long Beach, and you can check those out in April. We're going to move right along to Formula One and get Chris in
Red Bull wins, roll credits.
Pretty much what happened, but it was a different Red Bull in Checo Perez taking the win over Max Verstappen and Fernando Alonso. Chris, what did you think of your team's run on Sunday?
It was good. Definitely not unexpected. I think Saturday was actually really where the unexpected happened with Max having an issue in qualifying. As you guys saw in the group text, my world came crashing down. To put it lightly. But no, I think it was a good rebound as far as nearest the win goes. This truly has to prove that I am cursed, because I picked what is literally like the sure bet for the whole season among all of the series, right? Mm-hmm. I take the most sure bet and it blows up in my face.
Okay, you can't say you're cursed when
no
in here.
No, Michael, because hear me out. You don't know my pain.
Really? Really? You really want to say that?
Look when you pick with nearest the win, you get 3 shots at a Red Bull car, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody's going to pick Max for their pick on the Red Bull car. It's just a fact. And you know what? Every other person here that picks Mac is probably doing it on a weekend where he wins, but I picked up 2 points, not 1. That's twice as many points as I expected to have going into the weekend. So, good drive, though. Hell of a drive for sure. That safety car helped, and getting caught up behind Fernando definitely didn't help. I think we were going to finish.
Why was that a safety car, by the way?
It was ill-timed, but I think it actually played into the Mercedes, though. I think it actually really helped them out.
I mean, it definitely did, but Stroll was off the track.
Yeah, apparently. Well, like I said in our text, though, after Japan last year, I think you're going to see more safety cars. Mm-hmm. Just because there was a lot of criticism, and rightfully so, obviously. But I don't think they're going to be in a position again. And if they thought an inch of that car was in the on track, so to speak, they're going to throw it. I think they're going to throw it to spite people.
Oh, boy.
That's not going to be fun.
Depends on who you are, I suppose.
Yeah.
But we move on to...
Hasn't benefited me yet.
Ferrari. Ferrari gonna Ferrari is just going to be a phrase we use a lot this season.
And same with McLaren gonna McLaren.
Oh, we'll get to them. This time with Ferrari, during the safety car, nobody tells Charles Leclerc to catch up to not leave a space for Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton gets in and out of pit road and splits the Ferraris.
Yeah.
How does that mistake get made?
I'm telling you, Ferrari needs to fire those race engineers and all of their strategists. They have been firing people in the wrong departments. Their car is fine. They can overcome the car.
Is it?
They had a championship car last year, Michael. They should have won that
That was
championship.
last year. I'm talking about now.
A competent Ferrari team wins that championship last year.
It doesn't matter. We're talking about Red Bull defending a championship, not Ferrari defending a championship. And Ferrari should have won that last year. It was their strategy that lost it for them. They had reliability issues, sure, but they still should have been able to outscore.
This is the
Red
most
Bull.
unbiased I have ever heard you talk about Ferrari.
I mean, dude.
No, to be honest with you, I don't think I'm very biased against them. I think I'm just pointing out how garbage they are. It's not that I dislike the team. It's just I think their incompetency is hurting Formula One as a whole.
Is it? I feel like
Yes.
Is it the incompetency
wins,
or is it the intricacy of what's happening behind the scenes?
Probably, but I will say this. When Ferrari wins, Formula One wins. So that team being in a good position lifts all boats because Ferrari is the most synonymous team with Formula One. They should have won the championship last year. A competent strategist that knows to make sure to remind the team to bring all four tires to the pit lane, that can pull tire strategy for their number one driver at Silverstone, wins that championship, even with the reliability issues. That car was extremely fast, and they should have won the championship.
With the competent team, and also if they would have worked on the tire deg issue, yeah, they definitely would have won.
Yeah. And Red Bull's fixed the tire deg issue.
Did they even have a tire deg issue?
They definitely did, yeah. Not terrible, but they were not. I would say they were average or less last year with tire deg. Now I think they're probably 1 or 2 with best tire deg.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're running a pair of softs as long as most teams are running mediums.
Yeah, and that's how Mercedes was so good when they had their tire degradation down to where they could run. Not only they could run soft tires, they could run the medium tires with a little bit ahead of steam because they had the car handling so well.
Ferrari, I have to agree with Chris. I think they need to do something with that pit wall. But I also think the problems are deeply rooted in Ferrari. And when I say deeply rooted, I mean the company as a whole.
Yeah. McLaren, speaking of teams that, Lord have mercy, teams that have not had good starts to the season, they broke both of their front wings on both cars within the first couple laps of the race. They finished 16th and 17th.
Michael, did you watch the race?
Sunday.
I did watch the race.
Did you see, because I know the broadcast actually really didn't point it out, but the broken piece off of Lando on lap 1 went back and damaged the front wing of Piastri.
Yeah,
I didn't mean to laugh.
They never did tell us how Piastri's wing got broken, but now that I know that is just their luck this season.
Lando, when it bounced off of, so it got knocked off of Lando, bounced on the ground, shot up in the air, and landed right on Piastri's as he was going by. And damaged his wing. That's why they had to fix both on lap 1.
And this year has not started. Matter of fact, this last decade hasn't been good for McLaren.
Yep.
And
what do you think needs to change? Because they're looking at changing
Zach
Brown.
We said that.
Wow, we got a unanimous answer.
I mean, look at how Zach treated Ricciardo last year and how he went to go get Piastri. And now that's blown up in there, although it's not Piastri's fault.
And was it Palou?
Yeah, how he did Palou in IndyCar.
Yep.
It's all McLaren racing.
And it all comes down to one person that's running that ship. That is Zach Brown. The Formula One team is struggling. And that was the team he was brought in to right the ship on. And he has not been able to right that ship.
I mean, they were I want to say they were better off than when the McLaren Honda spiel was going on, but
Are we sure about that?
I mean, they did
I
get a
mean, the only
podium.
difference,
They did
to
get
be
a
honest,
win.
Michael, the only difference between that Honda era and the current era now is at least the McLarens are making it to the track to start.
Piastri got him into Q3.
Yeah, he did. Which, in my opinion, if he can do that a couple more times, maybe his talent is definitely up there.
And by the way, that doesn't say a lot for Norris if Piastri's coming in and bringing that car to Q3 and Norris is still struggling.
Well, we were actually going to kind of touch base on the rookies. We've got 2 races. We've got a couple stats. So this year we're tracking average start and average finish. And Logan Sargent, his average start has been 18th. His average finish is 14th. So he's on average gaining 4 spots. And actually, nope, that's Nick DeVries. Sorry. So I think he's finished 16th and 12th for the average of 14. Oscar Piastri's average start is 13. So actually he's 5 places better starting. But his average finish is 17.5. So he's losing 4.5 spots per race. And then Nick DeVries.
Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the first race, he parked on like lap 8 and he was done.
Yeah, the car
and then
broke.
This race,
and then this one, the wing got broken.
Yep. And then Nick DeVries, his average start is 18.5 and his average finish is 14. And actually both races he's finished 14th. So he's averaging 4.5 ups or 3.5 ups, sorry. So these guys, I mean, Oscar Piastri, in my opinion, good qualifier, had terrible luck in the race. But Logan and Sargent and Nick DeVries, they're both up 3.5 and 4 spots respectively. I mean, that's actually not bad in the cars that they're in.
Yeah, both rookies for the 2 rookies, Sargent and DeVries, for the equipment they're in, they are performing well. Piastri has not had a chance to show what he can do yet during a race because, again, it died at Bahrain, and then this lap, he ends up breaking the front wing on the initial start, and they end up getting trapped behind everybody, can't really make a lot of passes. So I want to see what Piastri can do on a trouble-free weekend. Sargent is dragging that Williams up the grid, and I like seeing that. And DeVries is having a steady ride so far in the AlphaTauri, bringing it home with minimal damage, which is good.
I mean, just looking at kind of average starts and average finishes, Yuki's actually shown some growth this year. His average start is 15. Yeah. His average starts 15. His average finish is 11. Yep. So I mean, he's averaging up 4 spots, which I think last year we'd say he's about even or maybe even down a spot or 2. So he's actually taken a step up this year with Pierre being out of the picture.
Well, he has to. He has to, because a lot of people are starting to question
him.
Question him. So it's just like he has to perform or else he's out.
And remember, he's got to be, or he's basically auditioning for whatever team Honda goes to next. So he's got to perform and shown that he has learned something through all these years in Formula One.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wholeheartedly agree with you. And if he can make it so every week if he can finish where he's averaging gaining 4 positions every race, that's really not bad. That's actually really good for somewhere, where we expect him to be midfield. So I mean, you figure if he can start qualifying, getting Q3 and keep that average, I mean, you're looking at maybe some podiums or at least points finishes every week, and that's not a bad. I mean, if you can be in Formula One and score points every week, you're gonna have a ride, and you're gonna keep that ride.
Yep. And I think, and we talked about Piastri getting into on the other side, Alpine scoring points in both cars this weekend. That's got to feel good for them, and especially they're principal rivals, McLaren, have yet to score this year. Meanwhile, Alpine's 5th. Now, they've only got 8 points, but in the midfield battle, once you get beyond Ferrari, that is worth its weight in gold, because Alfa Romeo, Haas, Williams, AlphaTauri, and now McLaren, they're not going to score that many points, because you've got the Red Bulls, the Astons, the Mercedes, and the Ferraris, and it's weird saying the Astons now. That's 8 spots taken up, which is pretty much guaranteed for points. So really, you've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 cars running for 2 spots to get points every week. That's not the top 4. That's going to be tough.
Yeah, and I think Alpine, especially if they're targeting one car scoring points every week, McLaren's not going to score points the way they've looked these last 2 races. They need a major shakeup. I'm not convinced that the move that they made today is that shakeup they need. Mm-hmm. But Alpine, yeah, they are looking like the best of the rest. Is as far as I'm concerned, and as far as Alpine's concerned, they've got 2 French drivers on a French team, both scoring points. I mean, what more do you need to market inside inside the country? That something like this, where if they can consistently having both cars score points, that's going to really help them out with funding and working their way up.
Yeah, it would be nice to see Alpine actually running well for a change.
Yeah.
That'd be the other thing. And as we continue down our Formula One conversation, move to some of the off-track news. Angela Cullen, longtime physiotherapist for Lewis Hamilton, has decided to part ways with Lewis. It's been suggested that it was Lewis's decision. They really haven't talked about the decision on why she's left, and it's really none of our business. From what it sounds, it was an amicable split. Angela's off to bigger and better, and it's going to be sad seeing that pairing on the grid, but Angela decided to step away, and she's really came to prominence as one of the central figures around Hamilton during that incredible championship run he just went on.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting not seeing that white hair around the paddock. She very easily recognizable figure, always with Lewis, and she was a very big part of that team that was arguably one of the most dominant runs in Formula One history. She was a big part of that. So definitely going to be interesting seeing what type of changes happen over the next couple of weeks and into the next couple of years. And yeah, we'll see how things change. There might be more changes coming in Lewis's direction from, the things that we've been seeing in the media this week, and a lot to play out yet.
Yeah, going to be a lot of fun, but I think right now everybody just wants to be focused on how that car runs on the track. They'll figure it out off the track with that situation. The Fernando penalty that wasn't a penalty. This just goes back to Formula One has got to do something about their penalty structure. It should not take till after the race to decide whether or not something on lap 19 was a penalty. Like, it does not need you don't need an act of Congress for every penalty. And people will complain about NASCAR's officiating. NASCAR makes the call then, and they stick with it. Whether it's right or wrong is a completely different conversation.
Yeah, and actually, we could back up a little bit to Fernando's starting infraction. Because someone shared a photo of the lineup looking straight down, and he was not the only car outside of the starting box. He wasn't the only car. There were more. I think I saw 2 more that were even just in his lane that were outside of the box. So that, what's the deal there? I know what the deal is, but the rhetorical question being, what was that?
These guys can't really see out of the front of the car, anymore with how the noses are shaped, and I need Formula One to be more lenient on this call because it makes no sense as to why we're suddenly getting all these penalties for being out the grid box. I guess somebody said it needed to be a point of emphasis, like the Stewart behind celebration calls in the NFL. So it makes no sense to me why we are sitting here calling it like this. That's something that's going to need to be fixed. But he got the 5-second penalty for that. They came in, served the penalty. Then there was a conversation about whether or not they actually served the penalty right. There was a 10-second penalty. Then it was taken away after. Fernando reaches 100 career podiums and all this, but yet again, FIA's officiating getting in front of a good thing. And the funny part is it still isn't the worst decision they've ever made with the officiating.
Realistically, it's probably not even top 5.
Not even top 5 in the last 5 years. Like, geez Louise.
Yeah.
They still have to fix their officiating situation. That's what we're saying about that. Speaking of situations that need to be fixed, let's talk about Jos Verstappen. His antics at the end of the race have been brought into question yet again. Did not look that plussed when Sergio Perez took the win of that race. Max did not greet his father after the race. He went to hug and celebrate with Christian, the 1-2 finish. Jos just kind of gave Perez a little half-hearted pat on the back after the race. Now, I get it. His son didn't win, but everybody remembers seeing Checo's dad being over the moon when Checo got on the podium in second and Max got the win. And we've talked about it a lot on this show about Jos Verstappen.
There, let's take it back even further. Let's go back to Abu Dhabi 2021. Who congratulated Max out back? Lewis's dad. If anybody had the right to be pissed off about somebody winning, it was Lewis's dad back in 2021. But he was. I really don't want to use the term man enough, but he was.
He definitely showed some class. I'll put it like that.
He definitely did.
We've talked about Jos Verstappen a lot on this show. Not a lot of it is good. And a lot of people don't have a lot of good things to say about Jos Verstappen and how he treats Max. And this is yet another conversation in the why is Jos Verstappen here situation. Because it feels like it's a distraction. And it's getting to the point that even David Croft had to point out there's a lot of conversations that Christian Horner is going to need to start having with this team because everything's great right now, but that Verstappen side of the garage has a huge there is a good probability that side of the garage could end up causing the issues that tear this team apart, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say make it so he can't enter the garage, but I don't really know the inner workings at Red Bull. I just hope they get it situated soon so that Max can focus and continue being himself, really.
Yeah. And Max is a much better person when his dad is not around, to be honest.
Oh, yeah, I've seen it.
Like,
thanks to Chris.
Yeah. You know, he actually has a decent personality.
Yeah, who likes to bombard me with Red Bull videos.
And the propaganda is working, Michael, because you said, I've heard you say, well, Red Bull's really not that bad.
Oh, no, they're not that bad.
No, I think
that's because I actually, when somebody presents me with something, I'm like, okay, I'm actually listening to see what they have to say.
Yeah, Max really isn't a bad guy off the track.
Yeah, he's like the only sim racer who goes out and does other sim racing events that I've seen.
You mean
he won the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix and went and ran GT3 at Sebring and won a race by 10 seconds.
He ran 10
which was
races.
very unfair, by the way. I saw that race.
Yeah, he ran 10 races in 24 hours after Saudi Arabia and won all 10.
Yep.
Yeah, man likes to race. I can respect that.
He has if you look at his iRacing, he's got like an 83% top 5 rate, which I mean realistically he should.
I mean, yeah, he should. He's a double world champion.
But iRacing is a whole nother animal, though.
I mean,
yeah, but he's always on it.
Yeah, well, the thing is his like average start position is like 2.5, so he's always ahead of the morons. And then it's just about staying in front of them.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of morons on iRacing. And
yeah,
with 2024 going ahead, or looking at next year, slim possibility Max and Lewis could be teammates. Haven't heard a lot of conversation about a Lewis extension over there. They're
actually...
Go ahead.
They're actually saying that they think Lewis will be out. They think people on Twitter and kind of the rumblings are is that Lewis will go to Ferrari or Aston Martin.
He's not going to Ferrari.
He's not going to go to Aston Martin with Alonso.
Well, Lewis is apparently he has said something about like winning with Ferrari.
I could see that.
That has broken many people, and you've seen what it's doing to Leclerc currently. Well, actually, I don't know. If he brings people along with him to Ferrari, maybe that might help, but I don't know.
Here's the thing. Our boy Sergio Perez to fuel the Red Bull Racing. He's on a 3-year, $18 million deal that ends this year.
Yeah.
There is a good possibility if Lewis Hamilton's contract, and I'm on Sport Track right now.
Lewis's contract's up this year too.
Yeah, if Lewis doesn't re-sign, and he signed a good lord above. I forgot about that 19 to 20 contract. He signed a 2-year, $133 million deal in 2019.
Which included an AMG one.
Yep. Lucky so-and-so. But Lewis's contract is up this year. That being the case, if I'm Christian Horner and I know Lewis's contract is up and Sergio's contract is up, Sergio, I love you, but I'm going to call Lewis Hamilton. If I am Christian Horner, I am at that garage the minute Lewis gets out. It's like, hey, dude, we got a car open next year.
Well, my question is...
Do you want them to be teammates?
Let Chris go, then I'll answer that.
If Lewis wants an 8th title, there's only one place he'll go.
Yeah.
If we're all being honest. Aston Martin, sure, they've looked good these 2 races, but they have not faced any adversity. They are firmly behind Red Bull and ahead of Ferrari and Mercedes, but we have not seen what they do when someone is close to them.
Yeah.
Right? We don't know. They are just firmly between those two, like way better than Mercedes and Ferrari, but nowhere near Red Bull. And so if I'm Lewis and I really want my 8th title, there's only one place I'm going. And the question is are driver contracts are they exempt from the salary cap or the cost cap?
I think that was the only thing that is exempt from the cost cap were the driver salaries.
Because you're talking about the most expensive driver lineup in like Formula One history. Because Max is at like $55 million a year.
Yeah,
as
Lewis
a base,
just
as
made
a,
133 or 72.
Yeah, so you're talking about over $100 million a year in driver salaries.
Yep,
that's a lot of money.
But
it is,
and they like when they did Max's contract, they went out and signed Oracle, right? And Oracle pays for Max's contract. They can't do that again.
Yeah,
Well, here's
that's
the
another
thing.
problem.
Lewis would bring so many sponsors, his contract would pay for itself, I think.
Or would
but it's
Lewis
going to
take
be
it-
a lot.
I don't know. Yeah, I think Lewis would have to go there knowing I have to beat Max. They are not going to hand it. Like, you know what I mean? There will be no team orders going my way unless something drastic
That's
happens
the
to
thing
Max.
I'm trying to like say. It's like one team is backing one driver. They're not going to back him at Red Bull.
Well, if you look at Saudi Arabia, Red Bull was holding Max back. They told him, "Don't go for the fastest lap. We're not worried about that." They were going to let Checo keep it, and Max was like, "No." You even heard at
that's
the end.
exactly like Max doesn't. I want to say he doesn't obey team orders, but let's face it, he doesn't really obey team orders.
Well, he was hitting his deltas until the last lap.
Yep.
They actually slowed Max down, and Checo was like, "Is Max slowing down?" And they told him, like, we told him 32.6, and they told 32.6 plus 4 or 0.4 or whatever. And Checo was like, "What was Max's last time?" And they said 32.6. Why are you telling him? Why are you letting him go faster than me? And they were like, "We're not. Like, he's hitting the delta." And like, there was a whole thread about it, like that whole thing. And really, at the end of the day, Max wasn't being a dickhead, and Checo wasn't being outrageous. Like, it was actually like TV did a really good job of stirring up drama in the moment.
Right.
That there wasn't actually really any drama. It was just very well done editing.
I see. Well, I think if he does go to Red Bull, that would have to be like, a condition in the contract. Like, he's allowed to race Verstappen.
I think he would. Yeah. And what I've noticed is Red Bull is letting Checo race a little bit more. Mainly because Checo's got to prove himself as well because it's contract year. And Red Bull's trying to figure out what they got over there. Now.
Well, and to be realistic, during this race, there was, if Checo lost this race to Max, that would be the biggest fix.
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, just, you couldn't even pretend, like, I get that Max could have made up that time with anybody else, but again, that Red Bull car, if Max was able to make up 5 seconds, you might as well just kick Checo out of that seat tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I can see that.
If he comes from 15th to win that race, Checo, see ya.
Correct.
Another thing is that could potentially be a thorn in that foot is would you count Ricardo as another potential candidate?
No,
I don't think so.
Maybe for like
sailed.
an interim year, like if they there's an assumption that Checo wants to be at Red Bull, but maybe he doesn't. Maybe he wants to be the lead driver somewhere else. I doubt it.
I think what they could do was have Checo for like a little bit, and then in 2025, I think, when Leclerc's contract runs out, they can grab Leclerc.
I don't think Max and Leclerc would be good teammates.
I mean, really? Because Leclerc is kind of defeated already, so...
Yeah, I don't think Leclerc would go to being a number 2.
If anything, I think it'd be Lando.
And this is coming from a Leclerc fan, by the way.
Problem is Lando's locked in until 2026.
Or we'll see what happens with Nick DeVries. Or don't rule out the possibility of an Indy driver. Red Bull wants, like, they will, we saw it with Colton Herta. They want an American in their program.
Hey, if Colton Herta gets good points finish this year, he'll have those super license points.
So you could see Nick DeVries move up to Red Bull, or Yuki.
I hope they don't move him, like either of them, up too quickly.
They've done it before.
Yeah, and I felt bad for when that's happened, so I don't want them to move up too quickly.
Yeah. I don't know. It'll be interesting. But Christian, there was an interview where Christian talked about Lewis, and he basically said that they're happy with Checo. But then he kind of like made this weird comment at the end, but like we haven't written off Lewis completely or something like that. Like it was a really weird like snippet where he was saying no, 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 and then at the end he said, but maybe.
It's one of those moments
odd.
where it was like, wait, why did you say that?
I went back and listened to it. I was like, did he really just leave the door open? And yeah, he did.
It wasn't a no.
It wasn't a no.
So on Twitter I put that GIF from Dumb and Dumber. So you're saying there's a chance?
Yep.
And if they get Lewis, they're gonna be even more unstoppable.
I don't even know.
Absolutely be unstoppable.
I would be really curious to see that dynamic.
It's like, what are you doing instead?
It would be almost like when Anakin goes to the dark side. You know what I mean?
You're not wrong. But...
right? Because they've been mortal enemies for so long, and then to see like, oh yeah, hey, by the way, seeing Lewis say like positive things about Red Bull and like being on their social media, it would just be weird.
Yeah, I'm kind of used to them throwing shade at each other, so
it'll be very weird cheering for Red Bull, but I will make it work.
If it gets him his 8th championship.
If it gets him his 8th championship, I'm not going to care. So
yeah.
So that we will see them again at Australia in a couple of weeks, which is a race I would probably not be watching live because it's going to start way too late at night. But we'll try and figure that out. Let's go ahead and move into NASCAR before we do Nearest to Win and get out of here. They ran Atlanta. We're going to start with the Xfinity race first because Josh Williams.
He went there.
This was the best moment of the weekend. They told him to park the car because I guess a piece of tape fell off. They were trying to fix it after that crash fest that was the first 2 stages. And Josh said, okay, I'll park the car. Parks it on the start-finish line, climbs out the car, and walks to the pit lane while waving to the crowd. All he had to do other than that was turn around and throw the double birds like Will Power. Now, it cost him. He got suspended. But it was the best thing of the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely the best huge respect to him.
Yeah, I support what he did.
Yeah, I support it too.
I think both sides were right in what they did because Josh stuck it to NASCAR on a penalty that should not have been called, and NASCAR had to go, hey, y'all can't do that when we tell you what to do. So Josh is going to take an enforced 1-week vacation. They will probably give him a waiver because we give waivers for suspensions now. And we get to reset the suspension clock.
I was actually going to ask you about that, Daryl. I forgot.
Yes.
But this suspension was kind of for another reason. It wasn't for intentionally wrecking somebody.
Yeah, but it was still for a egregious action, so I think you can reset it.
Maybe we need to start a second one.
We'll just keep it as it is, but unofficially, the clock has been
unofficially we're reset.
Unofficially, the suspension clock has been reset. But
I want to see somebody suspended for admitting to wrecking someone on purpose, because that's what happened with Bubba, and we've seen it happen twice since then. Go unpunished. Well, not unpunished, but no suspension.
Yeah, and speaking of suspensions, half of Xfinity needs to take a suspension. What was that race on Saturday? Like ARCA could have had a better race than Xfinity, the way that race went.
I heard they still haven't finished stage 2 yet.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they just had another caution. Michael, I don't know if you saw this, but every 4 or 5 laps, they were piling up cars. in the Xfinity race, to the point where Justin Allgaier comes out and he's saying that he's embarrassed for the sport and this type of racing isn't good and da 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 da. My brother in Christ, you're driving the car. Y'all can literally have the power to not do this. It is literally on y'all not to do this.
I never thought I would hear Daryl pull out the "My brother in Christ" card.
I mean, it was so stupid because he's complaining about NASCAR, about super speedway racing. My guy, y'all are the ones in the cars. Y'all have direct control over how this race turns out. The Cup guys figured it out. Why can't y'all? Like, collectively, y'all can't go, okay, we don't have the talent to go three wide on lap 15. Maybe we should just ride for a bit and get to stage 3. It didn't dawn on anybody until y'all got to stage 3. I'm like, okay, we need to actually try to finish this race sometime this century.
I mean, to be fair, though, the Cup guys didn't figure it out until, and this is where practice comes in, because there were too many wrecks in qualifying. And by too many, I mean one was too many.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we had 3 cars that spun out.
Yes.
Not necessarily wrecked, but spun out. Oh, and if you count Ty Gibbs smacking the wall, too.
Yeah. I don't know why we don't practice at super speedways. They tried to give some cockamamie explanation about why they don't do it, but again, I'm going to use this again. My brother in Christ, y'all have the ability to improve how the race weekend goes by practicing. I don't care if y'all just run with your manufacturers the whole time. It's better than nothing. And y'all need it, especially at these tracks. Go ahead.
No, you go. You finish.
I was going to say, they talk about we don't need practice here. The way y'all pile up cars, you definitely do. Go ahead.
So I forget what podcast I was listening to this week.
Mm-hmm.
It was either Denny Hamlin.
Which that is a great podcast, by the way. Action's detrimental.
It really is. Or it was Rubbin' Is Racing, because Barstool's redone that.
Yeah.
And that's active again. Which is actually not a half bad podcast anymore, to be honest with you. I don't know if you listen to it, Daryl.
I've heard a little bit, but Barstool and we don't get along because they do really stupid stuff. I don't know if you saw what the Alabama Barstool page posted, but
no,
it was the UMD Barstool page. For March Madness, because Alabama, my real world job kind of comes into play here. Brandon Miller drove a firearm that belonged to his teammate because his teammate left in the back of his car. His teammate then took the firearm that belonged to the teammate and shot some poor woman a couple of months ago, back in January, actually. That teammate and a guy from Michael and I's state, Maryland, is now facing capital murder charges, while the UMD Barstool page post a picture of Alabama's unis for the game, and it was the Alabama shorts and a flak jacket and a bulletproof vest.
That's...
A mother died because of that, by the way. Keep it classy, Barstool. But
yeah, I'd expect nothing less from them.
Yeah, but Cup and Xfinity need practice at super speedways more than anywhere. And if I'm NASCAR, I'm enforcing a draft pack practice session. It's going to be an hour. A minimum of 5 cars line up at the end of pit lane, and we send you out. We space it so that the groups have room. Or no, it'd be a minimum of 10. We break you up into the groups. We send you out in 3-second intervals, and y'all need to work on how to make moves in these 2-line paths. Because it's ridiculous. a lot of these blocks are getting made because we're not practicing anything during practice, ironically, to see how it works. And if you practice like crap, you're going to race like crap. And that's kind of what we saw in Xfinity and what we've seen recently in Cup when it comes to plate racing.
Yeah. But like I was saying, I don't remember whether it was Denny's or if it was the Barstool or maybe it was another one. But one of them was saying that, and it was a Cup driver too, which leads me to think it was one of those two because they had interviews this week. And basically that driver said, like, we don't necessarily need practice. It was probably Denny, realistically, because he was saying from an owner standpoint, now I'm kind of committed to the Denny thing. So if I'm wrong, oh well. Yes. But basically, like from the owner standpoint, it definitely makes sense to save the money. They understand where the fans are, but at the end of the day, like practice doesn't necessarily make them better. It just makes the car better. But if everybody unloads like crap, then comparatively, everybody, you know what I mean? Like if everybody unloads like crap, then everybody's kind of racing the same. And so I don't know, they just disagreed with the need for like the uproar about not having practice.
Yeah, but I don't want to see them run like crap. I want to see the cars run as finely tuned as possible. Look, every motorsport has money issues right now. The sport has an identity crisis coming. Chevy is discontinuing the Camaro. Chevy's about to go all electric. Now, the Camaro can continue past 2024. I'll get to the Bob tweet in a minute. But that's going away. Ford is getting away from anything ICE that's not the Mustang. Dodge is going full electric. At some point, we're going to have electric racing series. Or we're not going to have racing series, which is a terrifying prospect for all of us. But with all these monetary issues, IndyCar still has practice. Formula One still has all of its practice. NHRA qualifying is practice. NASCAR is the only one that neutered their practice to cut costs. Just saying. You know, it doesn't make sense to cut practice. Y'all can say it, but we're looking at you neutering the sport. And if the costs are that bad, either NASCAR has to come off with some TV money, or we're doing something real wrong in how the sport works.
Yeah. I'm with you 100% there.
Yeah, because it shouldn't take all this. It really shouldn't. But as far as the race went, Joey Logano leads 140 laps and dominates. Ford is really quick in super speedway trim, and Logano ends the Chevy streak of 4 at the start of the race. And another thing, to start the season, and here's another thing, no Chevys on the podium, with Joey, Brad Keselowski, and Toyota's Christopher Bell going 1 through 3, and Ford swept the stages with Joey Logano and Austin Cindric. So for the Blue Ovals, it was a really good day.
Yeah, a little redemption for him, because you know, as we've talked about, Chevy and specifically Hendrick, they were cooking, right? And there was nobody allowed in that kitchen, and so I think we all expected a shakeup. Kind of here was kind of where we thought that maybe there was a chance for the shakeup.
Yes.
And I actually just want to kind of look at our nearest to win from last week, because let's see, Ford, Chevy, Ford, Toyota.
Yeah, that didn't.
So I mean, out of 6 people, there were 4 Fords.
Yep. 1
Chevy, 1 Toyota. So I mean, I think whereas you look at the week before, Kyle Busch, right? Right. Nope. Was I looking at the right week? Atlanta. No, I was looking at the wrong week. Sorry. Bubba, Larson, Bubba, LaJoy, Bubba, Austin. No Fords last week. I think that's why we did so bad, Daryl. The week before. I was
Yeah.
looking at the week before. My apologies. That just forget what I said. But I'd like to say we all knew the Ford train was going to win, but apparently we did.
Yeah. I was thinking of picking a Ford, but I just decided to roll with the Bubba train and wasn't expecting that train to come off the track so early.
Yeah, I originally had Ryan Blaney down, and then I backed off because I was like, oh, Chevys are freaking just killing it. And sure enough, I picked Kyle Larson at Auto Club. He gets me 29 points. I picked Kyle Larson again. He gets me 31. So don't pick Kyle Larson. Sorry, Taryn. You already committed to him this week.
Yeah.
Oh, Michael, who are you picking, by the way?
Uh,
You can text me if you want because we're not there
yeah,
yet.
because I gotta think about it. But I do know who I'm gonna pick. It's COTA this weekend.
COTA,
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, Jensen Button.
For real?
Yeah, it's stupid, but it's Jensen Button.
That's true.
If it's stupid and it works, it's not stupid, but we'll see how things go. We'll get to our pick
That's a good one.
later. I can't even take credit for that. I've heard that phrase before. On the other news, we're watching what's going on with Chad Knaus, or with Hendrick and this Louver situation. Chad spoke to the media. He was definitely not plussed about the situation. He basically described they had to cut the pieces to get them to actually fit. With the HMS Colleague, they are scheduled to go in front of the board on March 29th. NASCAR may end up losing this, but either way, they've got a headache with these parts that they've got to figure out. And I don't know how they figure it out because the supply chain issues, they're easing, but they're not easing quickly. And I don't know how you make it go faster.
I don't think you do. But at the end of the day, it's going to be interesting to see this play out because if this supplier is not manufacturing the parts to these specifications, then this could get ugly for NASCAR and for that supplier and maybe even Hendrick.
Yes.
And because if they're not getting the parts they need, there's only one way to get it fixed. Because if they're dragging NASCAR through the mud in the media now, that means that they probably have a failed communication chain where they're giving feedback to NASCAR. And it's clearly that they're frustrated now to the point where they're just going public with it. Right? Mm-hmm. We've always heard rumors like, oh, things aren't quite what they meant to be. But when you have Chad Knaus acting as an official on behalf of the team, saying like, these parts don't fit, we are basically modifying them so they'll actually fit in the car. Mm-hmm. When you're saying that publicly, that means you are very confident in your message.
We've heard a lot of the teams coming out and speaking about NASCAR, and we haven't heard them come out like this since Tony Stewart in the mid-2000s when he was going on about the tire situation. All is not well in the NASCAR camp, and there's a lot that needs to get fixed, but the problem is the two Steves are kind of just, they're either oblivious or willfully ignorant, and I don't know which one is worse. And my fear that it's going to come to a head, and we're going to be sitting here with a stock car split. And let me tell you, that didn't go well for IndyCar. They have still not recovered from the open wheel split of the mid-2000s, or of the mid-90s through early 2000s.
Yeah.
Michael, what do you think about this whole situation? It seems like NASCAR and the teams they're starting to beef just a little bit more.
Yeah, I think they're starting to beef, and I think teams beefing amongst themselves isn't really good for the sport, in my opinion. I think these teams should be working together to make the sport and the competition better. I think teams not really working together overall for the sport is not going to help. So I think what
Well, they're
everyone should do
beefing
is
with,
work.
to be specific, they're beefing with NASCAR. That's the problem.
Yeah, and I don't think beefing with the sport is going to help. I think the sport needs to compromise with the teams so that the teams can tell them what they need so that they can get them what they need so that they can make the racing better so that they can be more entertaining for us in our homes, you know?
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun when they get it right, but man, I got a bad feeling about this, y'all. I really do. But what is going to be fun is COTA this weekend. Here's the thing. This is going to be the first race in the new stage era where we don't have the stage cautions. So I'm going to be watching Twitter real close during this race this weekend. And here's what I'm going to say. The first person to complain that the race is boring because we don't have a stage caution, I'm going to post that SpongeBob meme.
I know what you mean.
The one that said that where the kid complains and like, then why did you ask for it? Because we had to deal with that this week with Atlanta. We had a bunch of crashes in yellows. Fans complained. The Cup guys ran like they had some sense. The fans still complained. I don't know how NASCAR, how you please a fan base that complains no matter what happens.
You don't.
Yeah.
That's just kind of what it comes down to.
Yep. You just kind of got to do what you think is best and hope you please the most amount of people. But I like COTA. I know it's a little bit controversial because of that first race, which I just throw away because it was in a torrential downpour. But last year's race was a lot of fun and had a great finish between AJ Allmendinger and Ross Chastain. That's where Ross the Boss got a little bit of reputation when he put Allmendinger off the track, and a reputation that's kind of followed him last year.
Let's be fair, Daryl. Allmendinger moved him first.
True. People forget that part.
Nobody wants to talk about the fact that Allmendinger moved him out of the way, and then a couple turns later, he moved Allmendinger back out of the way.
Yeah. The only difference was Allmendinger couldn't hold on to it.
Yeah. And Bowman was the unfortunate recipient of a third-place finish, whereas he probably could have won if Ross didn't send Allmendinger into him.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to talk about that either.
Right, if they weren't playing bumper cars, they wouldn't be sitting here. They wouldn't have been sitting here dealing with that. But hey, it was fun. I can't wait for them to go again. And the good thing about this race is that you go into it. It's a very technical road course, and we've got so many good good drivers that are recognized. We got 2 Formula One champions. They're going to be on the grid as well. Ricky Taylor is also going to be on the grid. It's a star-studded race, and it's a road course race for NASCAR, so we really don't know who's going to win. Chase Elliott's not going to be there, but going into it, AJ Allmendinger has got to be one of your picks to win. I know Michael was talking earlier about Jenson Button, but the road course ringers, they're a lot better than the ones in the 90s, and they could do some damage this weekend in COTA.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. And last year, I put a lot of faith in Christopher Bell on road courses, and they did not pay off for me. So I'm going to go with the guy who won it last year. But yeah, as far as the road course ringers go, especially with now that we're getting more and more road courses on the schedule, they're becoming more and more important. And it's a skill that the drivers they can't just say we're racing there 2 times a year. We've got road courses in the playoffs now.
Yeah, we
So
got
if you're
we got 6 road courses now.
Yeah, so if you're a driver and you intend to be in the playoffs, you better learn how to drive on a road course.
Yep.
So I mean, I think that the road course ringers are definitely have an advantage, but I think what we're going to see over the next probably we had a lot last year, probably over the next year or two, we're going to see where the field tightens up.
Mm-hmm.
Just because these guys can't rely on, especially your top 16 that are intending to go to the playoffs, they can't just not put a lot of time and learn how to race on a road course. And I think, and to further, I think you might see more guys going with, like doing the 24 hours of Daytona and getting more into IMSA or WEC, kind of going more of that sport car route, just to get experience, just to get laps behind the wheel, going both ways. You know what I mean? It's the only way to learn is to have time in the seat.
Yes. If they can, they're going to have to run road courses, and they're going to have to run them well. And if you want to win the championship, you better learn how to run a road course, or you're not going to make it. Yep. So we will see how things go this weekend. I cannot wait to get this race started. It will be on Fox this weekend. And now we get to go to Nearest the Win and make our picks for the weekend. The only race this weekend is COTA. To remind you of the points, I continue to lead with 98. Taryn is in the second place with 127 points, followed by Matt White on 128, Larry on 134, Chris on 141, and Michael bringing up the rear with 148. I am taking AJ Allmendinger, the guy who almost won last year. And Chris, you kind of tipped your hat. Who are you taking?
I'm taking Ross Chastain, and I'm hoping that his ceremonial watermelon drop off of the tower at COTA leads us to another win.
Michael, who you got?
Jensen
like
Button.
I said, Jensen Button.
Right. Matt
and
White
just
is... go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, to round out the field, Matt White is taking Ross the Boss. Larry's taking Brad Keselowski, and Taryn is taking Kyle Larson. So you've still got a little bit more time to get in. So if you want to join, make sure you get your picks into our Twitter, and you can get added to the list. And good luck to all the drivers this weekend. So with that being said, time to the checkered flag on this episode of the Extra Mile. Remember, I'm at DK Jr. 12. Chris at Fiji Sims, and Michael's at Michael_War25. Make sure you follow our social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for IE Sports Radio, and the Extra Mile pages on Twitter and TikTok as well. I gotta get signed back into that so I can make some content because we're gonna have a lot of fun. Also, if you missed any episode of any IE Sports Radio show, it can be found wherever podcasts can be heard, and the YouTube repository, which has a nice backlog of every show we've ever done. And check out IESportsRadio.com and get in on the Patreon. Well, that'll do it for this episode of The Extra Mile. For Chris and Michael, I'm Daryl. This has been The Extra Mile, and we will see you at the next green flag. Good night, everybody.